Good evening, everyone. This is the Altamont Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting agenda for July 28th, 2026. Time is 7:01. Before we begin, exits on the left and behind me on the left. Before we begin, we'll also rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And then if I can have the board introduce themselves, starting to my left.
Deb Hext.
Charles Trout.
Simon Litton.
James Sullivan.
James Laval, Village Council.
Elizabeth Laparco.
Robert Freeman.
On the agenda, we have two items. A public hearing to be opened about D's Cards LLC and also a lot line adjustment. I'm going to begin with the lot line adjustment. Just to save that person time. Because this is a simple lot line adjustment, we don't need to have a public hearing because of section 315-10E1. So if you want to just briefly talk about it, you're welcome to. You don't need to.
Okay, I mean, unless there's a question.
Yeah.
But it's pretty simple, right? You've got the one owner of lot 145A who's looking to purchase a quarter acre from the lands behind him. So we're just moving the lines around, not creating any additional lots, so.
Yep.
Just one comment. Lot D, Lot 4, whatever you want to
Yep.
call it, was a non-buildable lot. So if he expands that, he's not going to be able to build there.
Yeah, so can you clarify non-buildable? Because lot 4 is buildable, we would have to come back if lot 4 was to be built on.
If he wanted to build anything on that,
On that portion, like if
Yes.
he extends his back property,
Exactly.
yeah, he would have to come before this
exactly,
board, yes,
yes. I just wanted to
understood.
make sure that's noted
Yeah.
and understood.
Yeah. And we do have a letter from that homeowner where he acknowledges
Yes, I
the
saw that.
restrictions from the
Yep.
previous subdivision. Yep, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the lot line adjustment?
I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
Jen, you are motioning, and Charles, number 2. Roll call. Board Member Freeman.
In favor.
Board Member Litton.
In favor.
Board Member Laparco. In favor. Board Member Trout.
Approved.
And Board Member, or Chairperson Sullivan.
In favor? Thank you, Mr. Robert.
In favor.
Great, thank you.
She got you?
What's that?
Did she get you?
Yeah, she
Oh,
got
okay,
me.
sorry.
I was the first one to go.
All right, I'll
right.
just quickly read the resolution. Whereas on June 19, 2026, the Zoning Board of Appeals from the Village of Altamont received an application from VAMR Development LLC for a lot line adjustment between two properties located at 145A Bozenkill Road, tax map number 37.09-1-5.12, Lot 1, and 145D Bozenkill Road, tax map number 37.09-1-5.11, Lot 4, both located within the Village of Altamont. And whereas the applicant requested the subdivision process be waived to allow for a lot line adjustment on lands that were subject to a prior subdivision approved by the ZBA, said final approved plat is filed with the Albany County Clerk's Office on May 20, 2022, as instrument number 14210, final plat. And whereas an owner authorization dated June 10th, 2026 was included with the submission together with a draft lot line adjustment map dated June 18th, 2026. The map was subsequently revised on June 24th, 2026 to include additional notes and detail that were requested, and whereas pursuant to the Village of Altamont subdivision regulations at section 315-10E1, The board shall have the power to waive the subdivision process for lot line adjustments under certain circumstances. And whereas the lot line adjustment plan would allow for the conveyance of a 10,817 square foot area from Lot 4 to Lot 1, and whereas the revised lot line adjustment plan acknowledges that no building permit shall be issued for improvements within the 10,818 square foot area being conveyed from Lot 4 to Lot 1 in accordance with the final plat, and whereas the ZBA has considered the application and proposed lot line adjustment plan last revised on June 24th, 2026, and considered the applicable provisions of the Village of Altamont subdivision regulations, now therefore be it resolved as follows by the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Altamont, Albany County, New York. One, the ZBA hereby determines that the application meets the criteria set forth under the section 315-10E1 to allow for the waiver of the subdivision process as set forth under local law. And two, the ZBA hereby determines that a lot line adjustment is a type 2 action exempt from seeker review pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5C16. And three, the ZBA authorizes the ZBA chairman to execute the lot line adjustment plan. And four, the ZBA hereby finds that this approval, subject to the notes and conditions included on the subject map, will not adversely affect the site's development, adversely impact neighboring properties, alter the essential character of the neighborhood, or negatively impact the health, safety, or welfare of the village residents. It is further resolved that the Village of Altamont ZBA hereby authorizes and requires the ZBA secretary, clerk, and/or village attorney to take the appropriate steps to effectuate this resolution, including any filing and distribution requirements. Thank you very much.
All right, great, thank you, and thanks to the applicant too for allowing me to come first, so have a good night.
So would you.
That was impressive.
I almost have it memorized. Okay, on to the next item on the agenda, the public hearing for special use permit submitted by D's Cards LLC to operate a specialty retail sport card memorabilia and hobby collectibles store at 103 Park Street, Altamont, New York, 12009, tax map number 37.18-6-26. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor. Before I invite anyone to come up and speak, I'll read the notice that was sent out. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held for the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Altamont at the Village Community Room, 115 Main Street, Altamont, New York, on the 28th day of July, 2026, at 7 p.m. to hear all interested persons regarding an application from D's Cards LLC submitted for special use permit related to the operation of a specialty retail sports card, memorabilia, and hobby collectibles store located at 103 Park Street, Altamont, New York, tax map number 37.18-6-26 in the village's central business district. Materials related to this application were available for the public inspection at the village offices during normal business hours. A copy of the Zoning Board of Appeals agenda and related materials will be available on the village website by Friday, July 24th, 2026. All people who desire to be heard regarding the special use permit application shall be heard by either attending the public hearing or by submitting written comments in advance of the public hearing to the zoning board secretary. Would the applicant or their representative care to just summarize the scope of the project?
I would, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, my name is Ryan Caponera. I am here on behalf of Deeds Cards LLC. I'm also here with my client as well, who's seated in the front row. As the board knows, we've submitted our application, a revised narrative, as well as a amended seeker materials and supporting submissions on this application. We're here for a public hearing for the special use permit for a specialty retail sports card, memorabilia, and hobby collectible store at 103 Park Street. We are simply here to answer any questions the board or the public may have, and we respectfully request approval of the special use permit this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I invite any members of the public to come up and speak, I would remind people that this is not technically a question and answer period, and the applicant is under no obligation to answer questions. With that being said, would there be anyone to come up and speak?
Good evening. My name is Sandra Dollard, and I'm the Executive Director of the Guilderland Chamber, and I'm also a member of the Altamont Roundtable. And I'm here today to support this young gentleman and his efforts to open up a retail operation in the village. We at the Roundtable are trying to promote business wherever we possibly can, and we, of course, see this as an opportunity to not only take a vacant building that's not paying any sales tax and not really doing anything, and creating a really lovely space for people to come visit. We are really working diligently with the Roundtable to create, the community is beautiful, but we also need commerce, controlled commerce, but commerce. And this, I think, would be low impact and also add interest to the town, village, my apologies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other parties in person wishing to speak? We did receive one letter, and I'll read it into the record. This was received Thursday, July 23rd, 2026. Based upon the very detailed proposal received by email, I do not have objections to the proposed use of the property, which has often been a nuisance in the past with flagrant violations of lighting requirements and noisy gatherings behind the building of skateboarders. I have a concern, however, about runoff from the property, particularly the parking lot, if the stormwater drain is not maintained and kept free of leaves and other impediments to drainage. At my home at 167 Main Street, we have experienced at times considerable amounts of drainage as my property is downhill from the location. In particular, the answers to question 17 lead me to wonder where the runoff will go. In looking at that, and that was submitted by Joan Capel of 167 Main Street. When she references question 17, she's talking about the short form environmental assessment form, which we took a look at, and based on the application that was submitted, we believe that the applicant's answers are correct, but we would just ask the applicant to be aware of that concern and let the landlord know as appropriate.
Understood, thank you.
Shouldn't that, though, on 17, if it is, it has to go somewhere, obviously. So wouldn't B be yes?
The question reads, will the proposed action? And the proposed action from the applicant isn't altering anything to do with,
Well, I think that's for A, though, isn't it? So B, will stormwater discharge be directed to establish conveyance systems, runoff storm drains?
But with all due respect, this application has nothing to do with adding to any stormwater runoff whatsoever, or adding to anything that would already be existing with respect to the environment. So again, my client is going to be a tenant at this property, does not own the property. Any concerns such as the one that was submitted in writing should be directed to probably Public Works or something along the Water Department. But we can certainly mention it to the owner of the property, but again, my client's a tenant and would not be contributing to the runoff in any capacity whatsoever.
I would also note that when we received this, our Public Works did go out to the site and investigate, and their assessment was that there was more than adequate drainage receptacles for stormwater runoff.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other comments, or sorry, no other members of the public wishing to speak, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor. Any discussion or conversation from the board? Okay. Could I have a motion to accept the special use permit?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion. In favor?
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor. I'll just read the resolution into the record. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Altamont, ZBA, received an application from D's Cards LLC, Jonathan Daniel Cochran, collectively the applicant, for special use permit approval for the operation of a retail store in an existing structure located at 103 Park Street in the village's central business district. And whereas retail stores are permitted in the CBD zoning district by special use permit, and whereas the proposed retail store will occupy and renovate an existing non-residential structure, and there are no exterior improvements to the building site proposed except for new signage, and whereas the applicant submitted an application for special use permit on May 14th, 2026, the application, and whereas the applicant submitted a short environmental assessment form with the application and supplemented its submission with additional information that was requested by the ZBA. And whereas pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, the following activities are classified as type 2 actions and exempt from review under SECRA pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5C18. Quote, reuse of a residential or commercial structure or of a structure containing mixed residential and commercial uses, where the residential or commercial use is a permitted use under the applicable zoning law or ordinance, including by special use permit, and the action does not meet or exceeds any of the thresholds in section 617.4 of this part, end quote. And whereas the ZBA has reviewed the EAF submitted by the applicant, which confirms the action involves the reuse of a commercial structure for a use that is permitted under the Village of Altamont zoning law. And whereas the ZBA determined the proposed action is a type 2 action exempt from review under SECRA and scheduled a public hearing for the application, and whereas the application was referred to the Albany County Planning pursuant to GML 239-M, and whereas the public hearing was duly noticed and held on July 28, 2026, at which time interested members of the public commented on the application, and whereas the ZBA has reviewed the application and comments received and duly deliberated on the application and considered the applicable standards and criteria for this application. Now therefore be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Altamont hereby approves the application for special use permit. Thank you very much, and welcome to the village.
Question, or may I ask a question?
Can you please come up to the microphone?
Sorry, am I going to do this? Thank you all so much. Per your wisdom at the previous meeting, we have engaged care of the executive director of Guilderland, a sign company. Does that mean we have to now wait for another month to get approval prior to putting on signs? She's already submitted. Well, just want a clarification because we're not making any changes to previous signs. There's a precedent we learned from Sandra. We're putting them where the previous Key Bank signs were since we were told we can't put a new sign in the ground. So I didn't know if we needed to wait another month
For signage?
for sign approval.
Yeah, as long as it fits the criteria of the sign permit and it's not going outside of that, it shouldn't need to. Am I correct with that?
You can just, yeah, as long as it meets
It's been submitted by Ray Sign Company. Sorry to put it on the spot, but Ms. Dahl, we were encouraged to ask about
Yeah.
this because we have changed our whole sign request to meet precedent of previous key bank. And so I was told to ask at the end of this meeting by the sign company and by the Chamber of Commerce about sign approval because partners, the community, stakeholders, fanatics, Michael Rubin, are all waiting for a sign to go up and to wait for approval for production. Ray Sign says it will take 4 to 6 weeks to make. So if we take August 25th, which is what we were communicated, plus 4 to 6 more weeks, we'll have signs up when Santa comes on the choo-choo train. So I thought it couldn't hurt to ask, as was encouraged.
Sure.
Please. Since the revised proposal was for precedent signs.
So the issue with the sign on the lawn, which is what I communicated, was there's electrical, there's lighting, so there would need to be a building permit attached to it.
That was taken away, and now there's 2 signs.
Right, so the 2 signs on the building, it was not communicated to me that there was original signage there that matched what the original key bank had. So that totally kind of changes the whole scenario, because there is no signage on the building currently. So
been
the
7 years.
the previous one was not discussed. So that does change things a little bit. I'll have to review and
Please,
discuss.
because we purposefully have eliminated in-ground signage, despite with all due kind Happy Tuesday respect, you had 7 years of an icon sign in the ground, but we've learned that's temporary signage. It's just, we were told it couldn't hurt to ask here in front of everyone, so that if we don't have to respectfully wait till August 25th to get approval, to then send it to production. Anything would be appreciated if we can please approve signs that were precedent.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll give you an answer tonight.
No,
but
totally fine.
I appreciate you bringing it up.
Thank you.
And once we have clarification on
Yeah.
what the application says versus what
Perfect.
is
Thank you.
required, then we will get back to you as soon as possible so
Thank
you can
you.
expedite that.
Thank you. This was me, not these cards asking. Sorry.
okay.
And
It's
with the
okay.
support of the Chamber of Commerce, learning about precedent. Thank you all so much.
Okay, the only other item we have on our agenda is the review and approval of the minutes, unless anyone else has new or old business to bring up. When I reviewed this, I didn't see any errors, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes as printed?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Board Member Freeman?
Approved.
Board Member Linton?
Approved.
Board Member McCarthy? Approved.
Approved.
Board Member Heck?
Approved?
And Chairperson Sullivan?
Approved.
Thank you.
And then finally, a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call. Board Member Freeman?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor?
In favor?
In favor.
In favor. Thank you.
Well,